put your feet on the ground.
Hey. Say, man, for those select few that are already initiated, you should already know what this is. And for those of you that aren't, just chill. See, we gonna get to the other stuff in a minute. But what I'm always trying to get everybody to understand is everything is vibration. So before we do anything else, baby, just vibe. That's the push. See ya. You done clicked on some trill shit this time. That's the push. Coolest dude in the whole cosmos, man. And at some point on this trip, you gonna realize that it's about that time for you to open up your ear and let me crawl into your mind. I told you I'm allergic. What it was, y'all. Y'all should know who it is. If not, I'm here. And y'all tuned in with Priceless Knowledge of Self. And this right here, this ain't nothing but some cosmic insight, man. And we have reached the last and final installment in our Uranus in the Houses series. And this time, if we're going to go out, guess what? We're going to go out on top. That's right. Because this right here, this is a little something about those people that have Uranus in the 10th house of their natal chart. Yeah, it's finna get real. But before we actually go there, what I'm going to do first is, if you don't know my style, is I'm going to give y'all a little information about Uranus. I'm going to give y'all a little I'm going to give y'all a little quick breakdown about the energies that come along with it and how it might affect you. Then after that, I'm going to give y'all a breakdown of what the 10th house of the astrological chart is actually all about. Then after that, we're going to bring it to a climax, a crescendo, which is actually what I do best. And it's probably my favorite too. Mi favorito. So, without wasting any more time, let's get it cracking, okay? So, Uranus. For me, Uranus is like the cosmic alarm clock and shit. And that's because big shocks and surprises are usually in store wherever it shows up in the chart. It's the planet of triggering events and breakthroughs that we don't expect. And as the higher octave of Mercury, Uranus really speaks to the genius streak in each one of us, man. And for us astrologers, Uranus is known as the awakener because of the way that its transits and its aspects bring so many sudden changes and shocks. And along with Saturn, Uranus co-rules Aquarius in the 11th house of the astrological chart. And what that says for me is that it can really bring brilliant innovation and sudden upheaval, which a lot of times is actually a necessary break from the norm. You see, Uranus ain't gonna make changes come, gradually. These ain't baby steps. Uranus works in quantum leaps. Okay? As do I. But when we're talking about the sign placement of Uranus, it spends about 7 years in each sign, so it takes about 84 years to traverse the whole zodiac. So what you got to understand is it's definitely generational in that aspect, man. And that means it's going to come across in a similar way for all those people that are born under that sign. Okay? But what it also means is that the house placement, that's where things get personal. Around here, around him, we all about getting personal. And what that can show is, where your brilliance is. That shows what area of life is, most prone to sudden flashes of genius and crazy upheavals. And, it also shows where you're just different than everybody else. For instance, I was born in the Uranus and Sagittarius generation, but I got Uranus in the 3rd house. Okay. What does that say? That means I have a brilliant mind. And the way that I articulate, the way that I communicate is just different. I also have Neptune there too, but not in Sagittarius and Capricorn. So that'd be working to my advantage. So moving on, man. When we talk about the aspects though, that shows where shit gets interesting and where you might be in for some cosmic surprises. For instance, say you're stuck in a job that you can't stand that ain't a part of your spiritual path anyway. What's going to happen? Uranus come through and get you fired from that mug. Uranus come through and tank the company. Uranus come through and burn the whole place down, okay? It's like that, man. And the aspects, they're of utmost importance because at around age 40, that's when the transit Uranus is going to be opposing your natal Uranus. And that coincides with that dreaded midlife crisis that people be talking about. And what it really is just, it's Uranus trying to help people break free from the shackles that have been keeping them from fulfilling their destinies. So with Uranus, my motto is always stay woke or get woke the fuck up, okay? And when we talk about the 10th house of the astrological chart, okay? It's ruled by Saturn in the sign of Capricorn. And it's one of the angular houses of the 1st, the 4th, the 7th, and the 10th. And this one is called the house of social status for a lot of reasons. And that's because it's the highest and most visible point in the astrological chart. It's about our career. It's about social grouping and our energy in society as a whole. With the 10th, man, you got to think status. Think status and the authority that it conveys. And consequently, the role that we take in our community. Okay. And it kind of speaks to any promotions we may receive, any fame we may acquire, and the type of businesses that we might partake in. Okay. And with respect to achievement, the 10th house, it focuses on how we see ourselves and how the community perceives us as well, okay? And we really focus on manifesting ourselves here in this house right here, man. And vocation is really important in the 10th, man. And what role will we choose? And how will we best fit? And how much do we really want to accomplish? How much can we really handle, man? Career, professional goals, ambition, motivation, they all come into play in the 10th house, man, for real, man. And also in a more practical complex, the 10th can talk about our employers and the government, and, anybody, some ruling entity that's able to rule over us are represented. And it really revolves around us ruling over others as well, any authority that we may have, man. The 10th house can really be about ego gratification, okay? And the question of how will we manage these gifts and the status that come along with the gifts that we've been given. And, with the 10th, just remember that not everybody, they're not cut out for success on the grand scale or fame on the grand scale and not everybody wants that. Everybody's version of success is different. Everybody, this is where you see if you can find your place in the world. You feel me? And so when we're talking about having Uranus in the 10th, man, This particular placement right here is one of the more interesting ones because this right here is really a true wild card in every freaking way, man. Real talk, man. These people are trailblazers. That's what I would call them more than anything else. And they're typically not the type to get tied down to neither people nor places. And, the traditional way of living, for these folks, it ain't never been their forte. It's not something that's ever interested in them, man. Uranus really brings a lot of eccentricity, and with this placement, it shows where we're different. And with this, in the 10th, it's in public, it's in society. So when it comes to these folks right here, they're different from everybody. They're different from everybody. And that's just what it is, man. And planets here in the 10th, they indicate that at some point, we might come before the public eye. Or we probably will, depending on what planet's there. And this is Uranus, so it's a good chance, man. It's going to be at the least expected moment. It's going to be at the least expected moment. And in this case, how that happens or, what reaction they're going to get when it happens, it simply can't be predicted. That's the thing, man. This is Uranus. This is putting your ass in the 10th house, really, if you want to see it like that. This is them putting Uranus on display. And now everybody can see you. What you gonna do? Barbecue or mildew. And in any case, let me say that 10th house Uranus people will really readily stand up for their beliefs against anything and anybody. And they can make some really charismatic leaders for real if they get put in that position. And in a lot of cases, these are the people who just, are really well ahead of their time, which usually doesn't make things very easy for them in the public eye because everybody's not readily like that. Everybody's mind isn't so forward moving like a lot of people would think, obviously. Or we wouldn't have a lot of the social issues that we have going on. These people right here are innovators and they're really drawn to anything progressive and they're inventors and scientists and revolutionaries. But you really can't forget that, Uranus also rules sudden changes. Okay. And so they could definitely find themselves right here in a position where, they thought they were on a certain path their whole life. They thought they were heading in a certain direction, but due to certain events happening and unexpectedly, they kind of end up in a whole different career field. And, it's actually a whole better position than they ever thought they could be in. And they're also the type of person that, people don't really know how to expect from these people right here. Nobody knows what to expect on what they're going to do in any situation. And moving on from that, another thing that I've learned and noticed is that, relationships with authority figures here, it can be hell. It can be hell because, independency with any prominent Uranus placement, and this is in an angular house, so it's prominent, it's going to be, an issue, man. That independency is going to be so imperative, man. And, as soon as they feel like somebody is trying to put them into a box, it's over with. It's over with. This ain't somebody that you could ever impose your will against, to be honest. And they have little respect for hierarchy or rules or traditions. So I'm just going to tell you now, you need to let that be a warning to you. And in a lot of cases, this can be a sign of a broken home too, man, because the 10th represents one of the parents. And for me, I usually say it's the father. And with Uranus here, man, it could represent a parent with the tendency to really run away or exhibit some erratic behavior, like popping into the native's life and then just poof, disappearing. You know what I'm saying? But with harmonious aspects, let me say that it probably just means that their dad probably might have been an Aquarius or, was just really smart and maybe a little quirky or weird, man. And that's just it. They might have just had a dad that was just different. Or the dad worked in a career that was just different, And most of all, let me say that, as we're saying, the 10th is about our career. So with Uranus here, some people are right here are going to work in, Uranus related fields like software engineering and development, electrical engineering. And, I've also seen that a lot of meteorologists have this and nuclear scientists. And there's also going to be some that might be on the other end of that right here. Okay. And that have it kind of manifest differently. For example, it might manifest with them being inventors or, just being innovators in their profession, somebody that's always ahead of their time. And it could be really anything, to be honest. And that's pretty cool. But no matter what it is, let me say that, these ain't the type that are fascinated with any idea of a conventional career at all. So a lot of them really end up creating their own career that gives them the space to be their authentic self, which is beautiful. And it's just something that they naturally do, establish on their own, because they know that they can't conform. And let me lastly say that the 10th also speaks a lot to how we appear in the public eye. Okay. So with these folks, they're usually going to be seen as somebody that's intelligent, somebody that's eccentric, and somebody that's original. Okay, by everybody. And with the more harmonious aspects, you're going to get somebody that really comes across publicly as an innovator and a revolutionary right here, man, who really has, kind of made this difference on the world, or who has the potential to, be somebody really special, to say the least. And everybody notices that. But with the harsher or more hard aspects, man, it's probably going to make them look like a freaking weirdo, to be honest. And, that's to everybody. And, the sign here will also speak a lot about that. But even if it don't play out like that, just because you built like that, you don't have to build like that, okay? We all have all this energy available to us in our charts. What you do with it is what you do with it. And even beyond that, it's not about what you do. It's about how you do it. And that's some priceless knowledge in itself. And it's been some priceless knowledge of self. Okay, hey, I appreciate all the love and support. If y'all are interested in the astrological reasons whatsoever, you can either hit me up in the comments below or email me at mr.turner1300@gmail.com. Hey, man, we up over that 1,000 subscribers, man. I appreciate the support, but let's get it to 10K, man. Why not? And lastly, this concludes our Uranus in the Houses series, man. Y'all can go review any of the videos now. There'll be a playlist for all the Uranus in the houses. And tomorrow, we're going to close out the moon in the houses. Okay? The day after that, we're going to close out Venus in the houses. A couple days after that, we're going to close out Neptune in the houses. This is closing week, and I'm a closer. Y'all, take care of yourselves and keep it real till I see you again. Hit that like button, hit that share button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Hit the bell icon so you can be notified when I drop my new stuff, man. One love.